everyone. Welcome to the Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast. I'm your host, Ty Spiker Christensen. Now, Biff, I asked for 2 coats of wax, not just one. You're right, Mr. McFly. I was just applying the second coat as we speak.
Starting on the second.
Oh, Biff, what a character. And we've got Jordan Christensen on the pod.
Your shoes untied. Oh, so gullible, McFly.
Don't be so gullible, McFly.
Just gonna be doing Biff quotes all the time.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. And we've got Cameron Mickle on the podcast.
Which one's your pop? That's him. Maybe you were adopted.
Kids are kicking him in the back of the
with his kick me sign.
Yeah,
that's right. And we've got reoccurring guest Ryan Ornstein.
Roads where we're going, we don't need roads.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Came prepared with the visuals. Love it, folks. Guys, we're here to discuss Back to the Future. This movie came out in the year 1985. It's actually something I didn't need to know because the whole movie centers around that plot point. I love it. Actually is helpful. It's not a movie about the future. It's about when the movie came out, and then they go.
And then
but
they
I
go
have to say,
future, which is our past.
Yes, I have to say though, in kindergarten when I had there was like an exam, and it was like the past took place when, and I was like, okay, so or it said like yesterday takes place when. The past, present, or future, and then some other thing. And I was like, oh, so yesterday has to be in the future. And they're like, no, you're completely wrong. And I was like, okay, well, why is it called Back to the Future? Like you go back. And then I was like, oh, it's because he needs to return it. I only understood it, but I got wrong. I got a test answer wrong because of this movie.
Because he had to get
the confusing title, Back to the Future. Like you go back in time, but he needs to return to his present, which is the future for the people of where he's with. This is a very confusing movie, folks, to explain. If you haven't seen it, my goodness, watch this movie. You've been living under a rock.
Better in part 2.
That's right. Part 3, yeah, exactly. There's a whole trilogy, folks. Pretty good, pretty solid trilogy. So we're gonna get into it. What was it like watching this movie for the first time and rewatching it for the podcast? Let's start with you, Cameron.
I can't even remember the first time that I watched it.
Did mom and dad wait until you were 13? I mean, it is technically PG, but
it's an old PG.
It's an old PG, as dad would call it.
I don't remember. I just remember like.
Did dad count the swear words? Because he does that sometimes.
No, yeah, he only did it for Christmas Story for me. I think I was probably like 10 or 11, and then I just remember watching it with mom and dad, and they like skipped over the part where Biff is like getting with Marty's mom, and I was which I mean is kind of an important plot point, so I just like didn't really understand what's going on. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, first time I watched it, I thought it was like really good, and really fun because it's kind of fun seeing into like, because I mean I wasn't alive during like the 80s, and so it's kind of fun seeing like that era and how nostalgic it was for like our parents and like just how much they enjoyed it as well. And then I didn't get a chance to rewatch it for this pod, but like in times I've rewatched it, I've been surprised at how well it holds up. I think it holds up even better than the second one, just because the second one's talking about the future that is now our past. But
didn't quite get the flying cars like it promised.
No, that was the most fun though, tracking everything that they got right and everything they totally missed on.
Yeah,
they definitely got Michael Jackson coming back for a brief moment, but it was because he died. But like everywhere was playing Michael Jackson, and I was like, yeah, he died around that time, so I was like, that was accurate. Everyone was listening to Michael Jackson again.
But that's what I'm so surprised, and I think this like holds up really well because it's talking about the past, and so I think they kind of nailed like a lot of the nostalgic points of it.
Definitely. Yeah, and it's also fun rewatching it to see the random product placement that was everywhere. You got the Pepsi and Mountain Dew. Texaco.
That's right. So Ryan, how about you, man? Watching this for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember when I saw it for the first time because I was like 2 years old when it came out, but I think I saw it when I was around like 8 or 9, and it just blew my mind. It was so fun just because I was so interested in the future at the time, and when they explored, and I was so interested in like continuity of timelines, and when they go back in time and like you think about the butterfly effect, you think of like what would change in the past due to your present, your future, and all of that. I just was so enthralled by all the details that it's been one of my favorite film franchises of all time, just my whole life. So I don't know literally when exactly I saw it, but I remembered it my entire life. So it was interesting coming back and rewatching it again after so many years of not seeing it and remembering all those details, and then seeing, was there anything that I think of differently now that I'm basically in Marty's older shoes of having a family as opposed to being just a kid. And yeah, it was interesting. I really
Mm,
enjoyed all the different details they had added in. Um,
that's
but
neat.
I think that honestly, the best the best for me is part two, when they go in the future. You get to see all the futuristic stuff, but then they go back into the past and they actually have to worry about the continuity of the actions that they take, not disrupting anything that happened in the first movie. Because when you rewatch the first movie after seeing the second one, you imagine all the different points of like, oh, other Marty is actually right on the other side of this door right now while he's talking to his parents after the dance. Oh, when he
That's right.
leaves, he actually just hit himself in the face.
That's right. That's right. And that is trippy to think about. Yeah, watch those movies back to back because, yeah, as far as time continuity, that is cool because it also recontextualizes because he affects the way it plays out. So it actually plays more cyclically than we think because Billy Zane and I just call him Billy Zane and the gang because it's Billy Zane. It's the villain from Titanic. He's one of the bullies with Biff. They're all waiting for him right in the second one. I remember that. And he knocks him out with the
I just like the guy with the 3D
bags of sand.
glasses.
Yeah, he's got the
Yeah.
3D glasses. It's
Classic
amazing.
80s, like, oh my goodness, 3D is a thing.
Red and blue.
Well,
Did anyone else see
but he's
Spy
wearing
Kids
it to be
3D with those
cool.
glasses on? I did,
yeah.
and I think I got a brain tumor. It's amazing.
I just know I recommended my parents go and see Avatar in 3D, and at their age, when they tried watching it, they got like motion sickness, and they had to like walk out of the theater.
Yeah, it's not for them. I
And
remember
that was even the newer version of 3D back when it was.
oh yeah,
I remember. Oh, you know where I remember the blue and red was when they had like Home Improvement, and they did a Tool Time episode with 3D, and they like shoved the board in your face to emphasize this is 3D. It's popping out of the TV.
Amen to that, dude. It was crazy time, dude. 3D. But Jordan, how about you? Watching Back to the Future for the first time and rewatching it for the podcast?
I honestly can't remember because we grew up with this film. So, I mean, I remember watching it a lot growing up, and I do love it. It's a classic. And then rewatching it was just kind of a fun nostalgia trip. But honestly, growing up, I actually watched the second one more than the first because I know Cameron doesn't love it as much, but it has like I just love how they portrayed the future, and especially when you're younger, it's just like it seems like so much more exciting and bigger than it really
100%.
is. So
100%. That's right, man. The second one was always my favorite. You see the future, you see them go back to the past, and you see the alternate present.
yeah,
That was a fun thing too. Is, oh
yeah.
man, we get to see this dystopian timeline.
Like
Feels like a much bigger movie.
I love
in
because
a
the
way.
ending has that great moment when Doc is running and he's like cheering with success, and then I love Marty coming right around the side right after he just let him.
I just sent you back.
I just sent you back.
But I'm back.
I'm back
I'm back from the future.
from the future. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they
so
could have called
good.
it back to back to the future, back from the future, and back to the Wild West, wild future, or something like that.
Yeah,
you
they
know?
could have come up with a kind of more
Will
clever
Smith does the
title,
rap for it. Yeah.
but it was just Back to the Future too.
That was a Wild West reference. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, I can't think of a time where I didn't know this movie existed, but I do remember, like, distinctly remember, like, I don't even know what age I was, but I remember watching it for the first time and being like, this movie's something special. Like the concept, the
But this
like
isn't
the
the movie
jokes.
that got you your quote, "Keep your pants on," right? Like you just
So it's
heard
funny
that.
that you say that because, like, I remember saying that all the time, and then I went back and watched it in high school and being like, oh yeah, he does say it in there. But no, I got my saying from somewhere else. I don't remember where it came from. Probably me and my friends just joking around and always, making fun of each other, being like, hey, like, just jokes like that you make with your friends. But it's funny because he says it as a form of like calm down, which I've never heard before. Where it's like, hey, just keep your pants on, George. Like, what? Anyway, so yeah, rewatching it, huge nostalgia trip. This movie is It's ingrained. It's in my top 100. I think this movie is super fun and it ages like a fine wine. It's funny. I just watched it with my kids to see if they'd be entertained. Not a peep from them. They all watched it. They were completely floored, very interested in it. And I'm like, there's some heavy subject matter in this, probably not for my 5-year-old, but I'm like, just like yeah, you said, I'm just like,
You
you don't
even
need to know
used the
what's
word
the nice thing
heavy,
is though,
heavy.
the way they made this film, it does go over their head, which I'm totally fine with.
Yeah.
Like you
Mhm.
really don't have to explain anything. They don't understand what's going on. So and then
Yeah.
maybe they'll grow up and need lots and lots of therapy, and I'll be like, yeah, I guess they understood a lot more than I gave them credit for. So we'll find out. But
It
my kids are absolutely entertained.
Yeah. I don't think they'd understand, some of the stuff.
Oh, they understand everything. No, like when I kiss you, it's like kissing my brother. My daughter laughed at that. She thought that was hilarious. So I'm like, I don't know if she understands all the intricacies of the joke, but yeah, anyway. Because I was explaining, it was funny because after he time travels, I was explaining to my kids, I was like, he went back to a time before he was born.
Mhm.
And my kids were like thinking about it. And I was like, so Mabel, it would be as if you traveled somewhere and you were back to when you were a little baby. And she understood that. She was like,
Mhm.
okay. So like he's out of time. And so she, because he gets to his neighborhood. Anyway, that's my whole story about explaining this movie to my daughter. It is so much
Yeah.
fun having
Yeah.
kids and showing your kids movies that you grew up watching. And I'm just gonna keep forcing them to watch these movies.
And you're like,
Exactly.
whoa, what am I doing
Yeah,
to
they're like, well, I don't remember any of these things in there. Oh my gosh.
There's so many great nuances to the writing in this movie.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
such a
yes.
perfectly written movie. I mean, even down to the little thing of like his brother always being in jail, and then they go back and he's in that playpen thing that
The
Chris
uncle,
behind the
yeah.
bars, and
Get
the
used to these
mom is
bars,
just
kid.
gotta get used to
nonchalantly
these
like,
bars?
he cries whenever we take him out, so we just leave him there all the time.
Well, oh my gosh, there's so many of those scenes. Yeah, we'll have to get into them. So let's I already asked Cameron. Yeah, I was always watching it. Okay, so let's get into two of our favorite things. Ryan, start us off. What are your two favorite things from the Back to the Future?
Oh man. Uh the two favorite things. I think I mentioned like just time travel in general, continuity. I love that it had so many different like recurring themes. Like how in each of the movies he wakes up, he thinks it's a dream. He
Mm-hmm.
hears his mom talking to him to comfort
Yep.
him. And
Yep.
it's literally what she says is like throws him off again, like what 1955? What? Yeah. I mean, just all the different nuances they have. I loved the portrayal of the future. I always love kind of like tracking as the years go by. When are we closer to having something they had? What is it that they missed entirely? Like when they at the house they have like the thumbprint to get inside. Like, yeah, they make locks like that now. You could theoretically remove your doorknob. But they totally did not predict email, right? Because when he gets fired, there's fax machines all over the house. Read my fax. You're fired.
Read my facts.
Daddy,
Read
what is
my
this?
facts.
Oh, it's a joke. It's a joke. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I mean they had like the screen on the window, so the window
Let's
itself
not
was a
forget that there was a
television.
fax machine in the closet.
Yeah,
So that
I
time
always
you
was
need to
like, what
get
the
a
heck is
printed
that?
out piece of paper in the closet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
as a
mean,
Ryan from
kid,
The
I always
Office
loved that
almost
they
predicted
like
that with Woof.
that's right. Well, that's right. It's stupid. It texts, emails, and everything all at
They did
once.
they
Like
did get
mama
all the different TVs playing at the same time. I've seen
yes.
my dad do that.
the
It's like,
attention
I love
span.
because I
Yeah.
think that
oh
was
my
roughly
head.
around the time when they were doing some things with like picture in picture, so you could have two things on your screen at once. But yeah, just to say, oh, I want all six of these channels, and it brings them up. That would be
Yeah.
handy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just stuff for Cameron's generation serial killers. You psycho. I don't know. I get such a headache like when there's too
Well,
much
no,
going
to be
on.
fair, like I like even multitasking with two apps open, right? You can like have your YouTube video small part of your phone, and then you can like be typing and texting something.
Oh,
Like you can do multiple things at once, and they do have an element of
Yeah.
that. But the
And you
idea of
can do
having
split
like
screen on
three
your phone.
different shows at once, it's ridiculous. But you're like, it's kind of like channel surfing. He's just seeing what's on in all the channels quickly,
Yeah.
right? Rather than
Yeah.
skipping in between all of them, he pulls them all up at once. There's a lot of things to unpack there, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
it is cool to see what they got right and what they didn't get right.
When I rewatched the second movie, I rewatched it with my wife, and she actually hadn't seen it before somehow.
Oh wow.
But I did mention to her I want to do one of the things that they had in the futuristic house, and that is put a hydroponic system growing fruit above our dining table to bring down and eat
Oh,
them.
that comes down.
Totally
That's
fresh.
right.
Okay,
Yeah,
retract.
totally yeah, retract. Yeah, it's pretty great. And of course
Retract.
the tiny little pizza, you know, blowing up to a big
Yeah.
pizza. That just
You
seemed like the
sure can't
coolest
hydrate
thing.
a pizza. That's how dehydration works, where it like suddenly grows 25
Bubbles.
times in size.
They solve world hunger, basically. It's amazing. So golly, gosh. Okay, Cameron, let's hear two of your favorite things from this movie.
I think my first favorite thing is I just think like Johnny Be Good when they play that song, it just like is so iconic for the
For that new
movie.
song.
And yeah, I was like, you know that new
Barry,
song?
you know your
Yeah.
cousin Barry, you know that sound he was looking
to
for.
this.
Listen to this.
Yeah. And I just think that is just like that's one of the most iconic scenes for me, and just kind of what ingrained in my memory, that scene, and just kind of the dance in general, just like all of the music, because it just reminds me a lot of some of the music that my dad would play growing up, and um and so that was also why they loved watching it. And then I think my second favorite thing is I just love Doc and like his. I mean, he's so his relationship with Marty is so iconic that I mean that like inspired Rick and Morty. So it's just like their dynamic is such a fun thing where it's like this kind of I wouldn't say loner kid, but like a little like a
Kind of just a
different.
naive kid.
I mean,
to
yeah,
some
and
extent.
any kid that would be friends with like some mad scientist like isn't exactly the most normal kid, but I just love like their friendship and dynamic, especially like on Doc's side. I just think is really fun.
Yeah, that brings me to the point at the very start of the first movie. He walks in and he kicks his skateboard, and it totally just rolls right into the case of plutonium.
Yeah.
And Jordan, how about you? Two of your favorite things from this movie.
Quotes, which I'm excited to get into, and
Mm-hmm.
also just so many great characters. This just like embodies a perfect 80s movie. Just how
Yeah, I'm waiting for like Cobra Kai version of Back to the Future where Biff is like a misunderstood bully and he gets his redemption arc. That's what I'm waiting for. So
Yeah.
I know,
he's not as two-dimensional as you think he is.
well, I want to spend more time with older Biff. Like, I just love how he's like, oh yeah, sure, guys.
Dude, that's why I said the quote. Now Biff, and he's like, I'm so sorry. Like Viv is like so great, and then he comes, he's like, "Oh hey Marty, like your books just came in, George." So funny, dude. He's just like such a dweeb and a dork. I love it. I
It's
love it.
so funny.
Like the submissive dork because he got beaten. Oh my word!
Because he lost one
Until-
fight and then
until
he lost one fight.
entire personality.
That's right.
He knocked it right
dude,
out of him.
Dude, maybe he freaking CTE'd him, man. Maybe he freaking that was a good wallop too. So maybe he like got brain damage and he's now not the same Biff that we know. Created an alternate timeline.
Biff did get hit in the head pretty frequently.
That's right. Yeah, and the manure. Yeah, he got served, man.
Yeah,
By
because
both
even
generations.
when Marty goes back in the second one, Biff starts to wake up while he's on the ground, and Marty just punches him again.
I love it. That's so good. I think he took his wallet.
Yeah.
He took his wallet.
I think he took the guy's wallet.
This is 3 times. I freaking love that guy. Okay, so I'm gonna get to my two favorite things, guys. Yeah, my first is somehow watching this movie. How do I say it? I love there's a lot of Easter eggs and a lot of time and care that went into thinking about this but there's also a few interesting things that I still feel like work. So how do I say this? There's like the causality, right? Or things that they change, right? The Twin Pines Mall.
Yeah.
He literally like runs over one of Mr. Peabody's or whatever. He ran over one of his.
Talk about all these great little writing details that they put
Yes,
in.
yes,
So
very clever. My point, why you? Which is like basically like this whole movie is filled with extras that are just going for it. I don't know where they found these people. He's like, it's like an airplane without wings. Like, what is that guy's deal? It's amazing.
Even the writing when Doc just sort of like very shortly at the start in the parking lot mentions to him, "Old man Peabody had a dream about breeding pines." Sets it up.
Very strange. Yeah. Love it.
He did set it up.
That's right. And so, yeah, the extras are just batting at 1,000. I love every extra in this movie, and all the every character feels so like you could do a Netflix series off of every little character. Like I call him Mr. Peabody. I think it was Peabody, right? The Peabody
Yeah.
farm or twin. Yeah. And then the Lorraine, amazing, like her perception of herself, like I would never chase a boy or sit in a parked car with a boy. And then the very first night, she's like got the huts for her own son. Amazing, amazing.
That's
And
what
she's
made
like,
the scene in the car even better too, though.
where are my
because
parents?
She's
On my
drinking,
hope chest.
He takes it away from her. You shouldn't drink because his mom grows up to be a drunk. And then she starts
Yes.
when she's like, "You drink too?" And all of a sudden she's like, "You're starting to sound like my mom."
It's great. It's like something wrong with that boy. He's an idiot. I bet his parents are idiots too. If you ever have a child like that, I'll disown you. Great
Perfect.
line. It's amazing.
Perfect. That's what I'm talking about.
Great
All kinds
humor,
of
dude.
things like that.
Yes, yes. Oh, it's great. So yeah, without further ado, just start getting into it, man. This movie. The stakes are so good. I love that this movie feels so contained, but it feels very vast. Like, I mean, in a movie about time travel, you always run into that issue of like, okay, like how do you present time, right? Like, or the effects that you have on time. Do you create an alternate universe, or do you simply change the one universe you live in, right? Which this is like before multiverse stuff, which I actually rather enjoyed.
Like this
It's
set
like
the
there's
stage. This was the precedent. That's why in Endgame they even talk about, wait, so Back to the Future is boring. Everybody thought for decades this is the standard, so it has to work this way. That's why butterfly effect was a thing.
Right. And honestly, I think I liked it just for the simplicity's sake, right? Because it does raise the stakes, right? But in the second one, they do talk about creating an alternate path, right? The flow of the current, right? So there's only one current and it's going through these different things. But like you said, like there are so many stakes, like he's literally disappearing. Like he's literally fading from existence. And so that's also leads into one of my nitpicks. Like George McFly has one of the greatest knockouts of the bully. And then this Weasley redheaded dweeb comes in and is like, "Put out, McFly, you're cutting in." And he like he's laughing.
The writers had to make sure that there was a perfect romantic moment in there.
Right, or more tension, and to use that special effect where Michael J. Fox can see through his hand, which they were really happy about. They love that special effect.
Yeah, those are great.
It was great. It was a great use of it because
time. I mean, whether it's the effect of like the DeLorean lighting up for this time travel,
so
or the
cool.
fact that it just like goes into these trail of flames, all that
trail
stuff.
of flames is like the coolest thing.
Yes, right between those legs. Yeah,
so freaking cool.
Oh, I love it. I love when he tries to step out of this.
Yes. He's
and
got the camera.
Yeah, he pulls him back in. When it
like,
happens,
why are you stepping aside? Do you not trust me or whatever? Right? There's something that he's saying to him there, and he's like, okay, I'll stand here.
Doc is also half crazy because even after the experiment works, Doc is surprised that it works. So how is he that confident that he pulls Marty into the line of the car?
There is an internet theory that suggests that he's suicidal, which is tragic. But no, I'm not kidding. Look it up. It's like he honestly believed he would die in a blaze of glory.
For the flux capacitor after banging his head on the sink.
Yes.
Right. What is it? 12.21 gigawatts?
121 gigawatts.
21 gigawatts. What's
a gigawatt? Doc, what's a gigawatt? Yeah, love it. And
we started doing so many Biff quotes, but honestly, out of what I was thinking, all of mine were Doc Brown.
Great Scott.
Do you know what this means? It means this thing
doesn't work at all.
You want a donation to the Coast Guard? Everyone keeps thinking he's a Coast Guard. I love it. The mocking of the style, the fashion.
The
I love
jacket.
it.
And when he's waiting for Marty and he keeps looking at his watch, dang.
I love too. He's like,
great. Yeah,
this is heavy, and he's like, is the gravitational pull different in you?
Yeah. That's why I was going off, Tyler, earlier when you said heavy. You used the word heavy. Why is everything heavy in the future? Is there something wrong with Earth's gravitational pull?
Oh man, the idea that the stakes are so high, he literally fades from existence, but then he like has time to perform this musical number. Like, don't worry about getting back to the future. And then, oh my goodness, guys, Doc's gonna die. 10 minutes ought to be enough time to warn him. 10 minutes.
That was my only nitpick.
That's one of my nitpicks.
Yeah.
10 minutes is enough. No.
I have hundreds of nitpicks. I have hundreds of them, but I'm willing to forgive them.
No, one of mine though was to branch off yours when you were talking about him still being threatened that they have to do the kiss. My nitpick
Yeah,
is
yeah.
okay,
He punches Biff out, takes him into the dance, and then this Weasley redhead cuts in, and then Marty is still fading from existence. Like, this
Dude.
weasel is gonna get in the way of them getting together, and Biff wasn't. Like, come on. I liked the little added tension, but come on, like
That
the
laugh
timeline
was
was
so
still
good
like,
though.
yeah. Oh, I know. It's an
Growing
amazing
up-
scene. Hey,
growing
cut out,
up-
McFly.
I gotta ask the technical question. If I'm gonna really nitpick, why is it he's the last to disappear? Is it because he's outside of time because he's the time traveler? But that seems like a MacGuffin that the writers had to use. That, oh, your siblings disappear little by little from the picture first, but you're the last.
Here's my assumption. I'll say maybe it's because time was like, hey, maybe they'll still end up together and they could have one kid, but they're not going to have your older siblings, right? Because he was the youngest. So
Mhm.
maybe the older ones were the first to disappear because if they don't get together, they're not going to, in sequential order, basically he would be the only one that would end up being born. Okay, here's a great nitpick though. Marty goes back to a time that he does not recognize. His entire life did not happen the way he thinks it did. Up until this point, he goes back to a time. And now, again, we're like, oh, it's all for the better. Is it though? He's going to be completely isolated. I mean,
He changed so many things.
The question is, when does he remember what actually happened? Does he just forever live in that new timeline with his?
no,
old
he doesn't
timeline?
remember. That's the point. He wakes up and he's like, oh my gosh, like the
Yeah.
car's wrecked. And he's like, no, the
Yeah.
car's not wrecked. And he's like, I have a truck. Oh, I have the same girlfriend. You think I get a hotter
I do.
girlfriend? No, I'm kidding.
Didn't they change the actress?
I'm kidding.
I do like who
No,
they
but
got for
here's-
the second movie though.
No, his bedroom's the
replaced her.
same. He doesn't notice anything, but then the rest of the house is
Yeah, the
different.
house is all different.
Here's another thing. If they had the lives that they did, I guess you could again, the photo. They had the same family vacation. They all dressed the same. Their parents' lives were completely changed, but everything else was just kind of the same. So the same family photo, they took it exactly the same place. There's a lot of paradox issues that you could be like, yeah, I don't know if they hold up, especially when your life's been changed that much.
Actually, quite honestly, my biggest nitpick about this entire franchise is that they go through the trouble in the second movie to talk about how if you go back and change the past, you can't just go forward and end up in the same place. You end up in the future that's altered.
That's altered.
The whole reason why they're in that situation is because future Biff stole the car, went back in time and changed something, and somehow, for whatever reason, brought the car back to the future that they were in.
Yeah.
There would have been no way for them to do that based on the logic explained by the movie itself.
Unless the understanding is that he went to a time in the future that wasn't affected by his life. Because
I
Biff
think
dies
when
instantly
he-
after that, right?
if
Because
you
he like
recall, when
dies.
He goes
Yeah.
back to the future. He starts like being in really bad shape, and I think that's kind of the writers saying, okay, yeah, he's sort of like changing his existence. But
Right,
to me, that's
right.
a cop out because he literally could not have brought the car back to them.
Brought it back to them, right? And I guess that's part of the thing where you need the plot to happen. So one thing I will say, this movie feels wholesome in a way, but also really bad. Like all the men are pretty deplorable in this movie, but hey, that's fine. I mean,
Yeah, I think
hey,
that
what
also
were you
speaks
doing
to
up
the
in that
time
tree?
frame.
Hey, one of these dang kids got in front of my car again.
Yeah,
Again, I love that
He's
quote.
up
Again?
again.
I had another one of these dang kids with my car. Oh, I love it. And I love that it's so clever that George, I love the fact that George is such a loser. He only got the girl because of it's not
Nightingale effect.
Nightingale effect. Yeah, Florence Nightingale, where you care for a sick and lost puppy and you felt
You
sorry
felt
for him
sorry
and all.
for him.
And I love that he got in the way of that. That was so clever. And that's what makes this
Yeah.
movie so great.
I
Because you're
know,
like,
it's all these
oh,
little things in the
now he
writing.
has like
oh,
a
she fell in love with
monument.
him because he got hit by the car. I got hit by the car.
That's right. Yeah, a monumental task of getting them back together and trying to teach him. So, how to be a ladies' man or, how to get the girl. Love it. I'm your density. I mean, like, it's one of my favorite quotes. That was my second quote I was going to choose. Because George is great. Crispin's performance in this
So I
movie.
love that he's a writer. He writes science fiction, and that's one of the ways that Marty gets through to him is he pretends that I'm Darth Vader from planet Vulcan. I gotta ask her out to the dance.
That's right. He told me if I didn't ask Lauren to the dance, he'd melt my brain.
Marty's like, let's just keep that part.
Yeah,
to
keep that part
ourselves."
out.
Keep that part to ourselves. I love it. Hey, McFly, I thought I told you not to come in here.
When they're hanging up the laundry and he's coaching through all that, he's like, "You say your line," and he's like, "Do I really have to swear?" And he's like, "Yes, swear."
That's right. Yeah, gotta swear. What I love about this whole movie was conceived. Robert Zemeckis had said that he was looking for through his father's yearbook and he saw a photo of his dad and he thought, I wonder if he and I would have been best friends in high school. And that's like where a lot of this movie came from, which I love because the chemistry between Michael J. Fox, one, there was a lot of what's our Pulp Fiction guy's name? He was gonna originally be Michael J. Fox, but then Robert Zemeckis is like, it's too serious. We need to have a lot more humor. So they brought in Michael J. Fox, and they had filmed most of the movie, but had to reshoot it with Michael J. Fox. And but Michael J. Fox, man, oozing with charisma. He's got like that, I don't know what to call it, like Boy Scout meets like
The cool
I
kid.
don't know, harmless. He's like a harmless, right? But he's such a good person, I guess, for the most part, except when it comes to his own girlfriend and checking other girls out that walk by. But other than that, he's willing to stand up, even though he's much smaller than Biff. He's not afraid, right? He's courageous. He's a freaking Gryffindor. Anyway, it's just I think it's clever the way that they have Michael J. Fox's chemistry between his own father, Crispin Glover, George McFly, and Marty McFly. It's great. Daddy-o.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like,
Great face,
Daddy. Yeah, he tries.
Dad,
And
yo.
then, of course, his chemistry with Christopher Lloyd, the hilarious, with Leah Thompson, the mom and son thing. It's awkward, but it's innocent enough. I feel like Michael J. Fox pulls it off where like it is purely comical and it's not like even remote. And it's probably obviously part of it is gross out. Like she leans into to kiss him and he's just like completely frozen. He's shrunk and he's got that stupid look on his face. I love it.
Like
Yeah.
whimpering.
Yeah. It's great. I love it. So, but my goodness,
Yeah,
the stakes. I was holding my breath every time. I'm like, is he gonna make it? He's driving down. Car doesn't start. The freaking DeLorean, man. The stupid car doesn't start. Oh, it's so stressful.
All these nuances, how like Doc is risking their lives at the start just to like say, just to be how confident he was that it was going to work, and yet later on he's like, all right, I've calculated everything, wind resistance and everything, and yet it's because the car didn't start on time that he made it right as the lightning struck. He would have been there too early if he had started when the Doc told him to.
It's probably true. Or he wouldn't have had to accelerate as fast as he did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's probably just that the Doc didn't anticipate how much he was going to ride out of there like that.
How often the DeLorean would fail to start and stop again. Yeah. It's amazing. Other nitpicks. Does the camcorder that Doc have work in a 30-year-old TV set? I'm just curious about that.
I was wondering that too.
Right. He's playing. He's like, oh, this is fantastic. Right. Love the fact that he can't handle the fact that an actor became president of the United States. I'm like, dude, just wait till Donald Trump runs for president, dude. It's gonna blow your mind.
Yeah. No, but that led to another one of those great little one-liners where he's like, "Well, it's no wonder your presidents have to be actors. They have to look good in front of the TV."
Yes, which is a great line. What's weird is like I was looking up trivia for this movie, and like apparently Ronald Reagan loved this movie so much he like had the projectionist rewind the line. Oh, Ronald Reagan, the actor, who's the vice president, Jerry Lewis, like he thought it was so funny. Like a president becomes an actor. He had the projectionist rewind the movie in the theater. And I guess when you're president of the United States, you can ask to do that because part of my Spider-Man Homecoming audio got mixed up when I was at the theater and the projectionist just laughed at me and was like, go back to your seat. And I'm like, can I get a refund or can I get like I just missed like 15 minutes of the movie while you got the audio worked up. Anyway, just saying, it must be nice to be the president of the United States,
Sure. Or Howard Hughes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Howard
not that I'm bitter.
Had done broadcast like a whole radio station or TV station just for him.
Exactly. Yeah, Doc.
Mayor.
Goldie Hawn. Hey, I'm gonna clean up this town. Oh, my daughter also laughed really hard when he's like, I'm gonna clean up this here town. Good. You can start by sweeping the floor. My daughter died laughing at that. I don't know why. She thought that was super funny. And I'm like, it is funny. Kids understand that humor, like dramatic irony.
That's another example is a perfect it's another paradox of like, well, would he have become mayor if Marty hadn't gone back to the time?
I hadn't told him the idea.
I thought about
See,
that.
this is where it gets tricky for me because part of me, my favorite time travel is the one where it's actually cyclical and it does work in the heroes, but like the story plays out the same way as it always has because once you've gone back in time, you're then met from your future self, and then eventually Bill and Ted do this actually really well. And for most of the movie, it gets weird at the
trash
end.
can really well.
Don't even give us a trash can. It just falls out of the sky. Hilarious. Oh, don't let me forget. Yeah, we have to do it before we die. Do this one thing right to set up something in the past because you have infinite time when you have a time travel. what I
Yeah.
really like about this movie and what it does so well about the time traveling is, okay, you have a plot device where it's like, oh no, like you have a time machine, you could literally do anything you want. I liked how it required such a tremendous amount of energy. So it almost makes it believable. Like even like in this universe, you're like, I could believe that he gets hand on plutonium through some terrorist and then gives him a pinball bomb, you know, doesn't do him any
Johnny
good.
bomb casing full of used
And
pinball
he's not that, I mean, like he's a smart builder, but he doesn't fool them. They find out where he lives and or whatever, where he's doing the experiment, and they like shoot him up. Another great line is just like, Doc, what about disrupting time continuum? And he's like, well, I figured what the hell? I'm like, that's the best response to all of this stuff, right? Don't try to understand it, just feel it, right? That's from Tenet.
All right, settle
That
down.
was the Tenet moment. Yeah, that's the line. Yeah, exactly.
All these time
But-
travel movies.
I know, Cameron, where does this rank as far, because I know you're big into time travel. Where does this one, does it fit the parameters of time
this
travel
is
for you?
actually number 100 on my top 100, but it might be getting bumped out because I just recently added 2 to my top 100, but it's definitely top 200 for me easily, and like easily top 10 time travels.
Yeah, top time travel. But oh, don't let it, dude. To me, it just climbs every time I watch this movie. It's just,
I know, I've just been watching too many masterpieces. Sorry, Doc.
Are you really putting that wrestling movie in your top 100?
Maybe.
Recency bias, you.
No,
wait, are
dude,
you are you talking about the Zac Efron?
The
Zac
Iron
Efron?
he
Spot.
just
I
watched
knew
that.
you'd seen that. I knew you'd see that.
Every
movie.
single person I watched it with, everyone gave it 5 stars.
I do want to see it. Yeah,
I'm
I
not
do
even
wanna see
joking.
it.
Me, Drew, and Colton, and then also Brighton all gave it 5 stars.
I do want to see it. I mean, not just because you know.
Jordan,
You get to see
I'm
20
telling
of-
you, you have literally no
I'm
idea what you're
excited
talking
to
about
watch
because
it.
you haven't seen it.
Yeah, Jordan, don't be a
Alright,
hater. You
back
just
to
don't
Back to the
understand.
Future.
Going back to the past. Don't forget that, guys, because the future's hasn't happened yet. Just don't get that question wrong on your exams, okay?
But it's gonna happen in a second. Oh, now it's the future, Ty.
But see, yeah,
But
now I'm
it's
living in the
making me
present.
think of his baseballs and like, where are we now? We're at now.
Now, yeah. This is now.
No.
Then is happened. Yeah. When? Then. I don't remember what they do. Anyway, so for me, there's a few things where, yeah. So Marty goes back to an existence that he doesn't know. He gets to spend the rest of his life in a completely alternate universe where, again, I'm curious to know what everyone's perception of him was, because I'm assuming that he grew up all up until this point with the assumption this is how things have always been. But then one day it's like, he's never going to be the same. People are going to be like, oh, you've changed.
Yeah.
I mean, his
That would
girlfriend
be
blows it off like, you
interesting.
haven't seen me forever, but it's like, I guess she's still the same person because she had her same upbringing, supposing that all of his actions didn't affect
You
that.
were
It's
way
crazy.
overthinking this.
He's screwed
No,
for
it's good.
relationship like what do you call it?
Well, that's why they got a
or
new
when
actress for
she's
the
like, she's like,
sequel.
where do we go on our first date? He's like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did we first meet?
Yeah.
Oh, we met on the dude. Well, About Time had a
Making
little
the
bit of
body
that too,
snatcher.
right, Cam? Because
Yeah.
that first date, it's like,
Uh,
oh, our first date never happened.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna mention because
Crazy.
About Time I was gonna say it'd be funny if he came back and he was a woman, like because that's what happens in About Time. They switch
Yeah.
the genders when he
Yeah.
goes time travels.
Didn't he?
Oh,
play-
wait, with the children, right? You mean
Yeah.
with his
That's what I'm saying. Marty is one of the children, so he comes back because he changed so
he's a
many
girl.
things. His parents ended up having a girl
having a girls.
because
Oh my gosh.
he basically
yes.
changed like
That's hilarious.
everything. Like I
He
mean, the guy
changed
that
quite a bit.
wrote that song, just like it's just so funny. He's just spewing all this like
What, the power of
information.
love? Huey Lewis. That's the power of love. When she kisses him, love that. I don't know why that song
That
slaps.
song is great.
So much nostalgia.
Anyway. Oh, and then I'm afraid you're just too darn loud. Like Marty can't
Yes.
face that rejection, and then his father with the comics. I love that. I
Yeah,
thought that
seeing
was
him
sweet.
kind of the character growth there, because you see him
Yes.
having these similarities with his dad, but as he progresses, he's like, oh no, wait. And that kind of plays out too in the second and third, where they're talking, especially in the second. Where
You
they're talking
chicken?
about, like, yeah, then
Yes, the
you can just
chicken thing.
control him. You just like you can completely control him if you just call him chicken. He does whenever you tell him to.
Ryan, the only thing I have to say to your comment just now is, why don't you make like a tree and get out of
outta
here?
It's leave. You sound
It's
like a
like-
leave. Like that. Make like a tree and leave.
Okay, guys, I have to blow your minds here. Tom Wilson, who plays Biff, both make it like a tree and get out of here. And what are you looking at? Butthead. We're both improvised from him. That was totally Tom Wilson.
That's crazy.
I don't know where he drew that inspiration, but I'm like, he was born to play this role. This is like the best, one of the best bullies in movie history of all time. Like,
yeah, he
so
definitely
iconic,
plays
so funny. There's so many things I could say to him. One, like the clever use of framing where Michael J. Fox is looking at him and then he slowly raises up and over the brim of his eye. That's such great storytelling. I can't even,
too, because not only did it
so
happen in
good.
the original, but then in the second one when he plays Griff, he has the bionic implants and it has the sound effect go along with it too.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Grows bigger. Yes. And then I don't know what he's doing in that performance though. Batter up. I think he like got injured or something. Yeah,
it's the bionic implants are kind of messing with his neurons.
Yeah. Something's going on there. Too many implants, you know. It's amazing. My goodness, folks, there's so much.
Or Biff just dropped his kid on his head one too many times.
Yeah, inhaled too much of that wax coat for the cars or something. But then that's not even his past or his future. I don't know.
He ate a lot of paint chips when he was a kid.
Something about this, all very familiar about all this.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. It isn't until he actually sees both of them and he puts two in together. He's like, "Oh, flying DeLorean! Haven't seen one of those in 30 years."
Okay, so a few things too. Crispin Glover wakes up one morning or whatever in the middle of the night being awoken to Van Halen in his ears and a musical form of instrument he's never heard of before. He thinks he's being mind melded. Marty just leaves his room and then he goes back to bed. Like, what happened? What like they didn't play, they cut that scene perfectly, but you're like,
very intentionally cut. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he just like takes his headphones and then like walks out of his room.
They didn't even want to bother like showing you the actual conversation. It's all
implied. Yeah.
It's all they needed for him to come in the next scene and be like, I'm
okay with it. Yeah, it's so hilarious. But I just thought that was it's like, does he actually go back to bed? Does he think this is a dream? Because I love him looking over at the book in his bed and it's like visitors from outer space or whatever, right? Yeah, it's hilarious because you're like, okay, so he would believe in the realm of possibility, like this is happening to me. But then the next morning he says, last night, does he say I had a dream? Because I don't remember if he says I dreamt that. Does he say
no, he said he came to me? Yeah,
I think he thinks it was real.
Yeah.
So George McFly,
he's really afraid of his brain melting.
He's literally afraid, but he also has believed that he has been visited by aliens. So again, it would explain not only was he always fascinated by science fiction novels, but he believes he is a subject that has been visited by the extraterrestrial visitations of the fourth kind, right? But again, this is the causality I was going to bring up, right? So how do you even like go back and like start this? So he gives him the courage that he needs to like face up his bully, and then he ends up becoming a writer. And then going back in time, he's then or going back to his original time, he's able to see his father, and his father's like, "Hey, don't be afraid to achieve your dreams." Did the band? I guess he's still gonna send in his music label. Does he still have the same band? I have so many questions, right? Because Marty's arc, I'm like, he gets the girl and everything's fine at the end, but then they leave it on such a crazy cliffhanger where Doc shows up. He's got this crazy visor. We got to go to the future. What a great sequel tease. Like, that's so clever.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And Marty's concern is like, what happens to us in the future? Do we become or something? Like, no, your kids.
I love when he hesitates to. No.
You and your wife are fine. It's your kids. Something's got to be done about your kids.
You
amazing.
have to think about it for a second.
Yeah, amazing.
Just the scientist me love the fact that he came back and instead of plutonium, now he's got a Mr. Fusion. And he not only feels it with garbage, but he dumps out the beer and
throws the can and banana peels. Yeah, I need fuel. And then it's like, oh, it's run off garbage. I love that. It's amazing. Because then you're like, oh, like the sequel, then it's what's the so the time thing, and then the third one, it's the car doesn't run, but the flux capacitor has the energy. I love it. It's great. They do that theme throughout where there's an issue with the time travel, and he needs to use his scientific and engineering mind to come up with solutions in order to fix this problem and save Marty. It's just such a good, enduring movie. Like, problem solving at its finest. I apologize for the crude model. It's not to scale, and I couldn't paint it. And it's like the entire city. Like,
it's already basically to scale.
It's amazing.
Yeah, those are more great one-liners.
And then
But jumping back real quick to the nitpicks, I
yeah.
actually I was always bothered by the fact that they're all like, it has to go 88 miles per hour, but at the end of the second movie, he's just flying. And literally Marty's like, you don't want to get hit by lightning. And he gets hit by lightning and he disappears through time. He wasn't moving forward. He wasn't going
moving.
88 miles an hour. He was just hovering in the sky. That's why the fire tracks are in like a reverse 99. So they completely ignore the 88 miles per hour for that particular time.
Could have
maybe when he does
it.
remember when he gets the flying vehicle, because he does because where we're going, we don't
Even
need.
when
He still has to
fly forward that fast.
Yeah.
The future when they came back.
Whoa! Slow down. You know what another good line is? They're like, why don't Lorraine and George McFly recognize their son as the person that made a great impact on their lives, like when they were in high school?
Oh yeah,
it's probably because it was too many years in the future that they didn't remember the exact facial features.
To be fair, yeah, they're like,
but like
and
to me,
obviously
it's like
even the
you weirdly
suggesting
look
those.
like the guy who played at my senior prom.
Yeah.
I think I tried to kiss him.
The awesome guy, the guy that taught me the confidence to win the love of my life.
Yes, that completely forgotten about. No, but even fair, like she's like, Marty is a nice name. Yeah.
He
teasing the idea that they like
when he was talking to his parents, because as he was saying goodbye, he was like, and just promise me that if you do have kids and one of them
one sets fire to the rug,
gently set fire to the living room carpet, just go easy on him. And then they're just like, okay.
So because of that tidbit, do they forget about it? Because you could argue like, because in my defense of all the nitpicks, it's like I've heard time is like, because I think in the second one he refers to time being this giant current, right? Or was that a different time travel movie?
It was a different movie entirely, which I thought was
okay. Yeah, there's like little drops.
It's a river, and you can divert so far, but then it kind of generally comes back.
Right? Yeah, a branch, but it comes back to the core timeline, which I kind of enjoy that also. Yeah. But part of me is like, again, he was literally disappearing from existence, and then even time was fooled into thinking that creepy redheaded ginger was going to get in the way of Leah Thompson. I don't know why. It just bothers me to no end, where time's like, yeah, I guess this is it for our hero. You're gone. I'm going to erase you from existence. And time's like, hold the phone. Wait a second. George stood up to a second bully in one evening. My goodness, call me shocked. You're okay. You're going to exist and your siblings come back. Everything's fine. Pretty crazy. I'm just saying, because I love the scene of tension, but it is weird.
It's poetic that they actually had to shoot one of those scenes and play it in reverse, like one of the shots right after the kiss happens and he's restored 100% again.
He jumps up. Hilarious.
Because that's the only way to have him jump back up to playing again.
I was going to say it was so comical how fast he gets up. It makes me laugh every time I watch it. And now I understand why it's backwards. That makes perfect sense, because he pops back up and he starts playing perfectly. Hilarious.
I love it.
It's nuts. I love this movie so much, but it is crazy to think about, and it's fun to speculate as far as time travel is concerned.
Do we recommend it? If you haven't seen it,
I don't think I think of time travel outside of it.
You'd be surprised how many people like my age in college haven't seen it. I'm like, who raised
share
you?
It with others?
It's great. Yeah, force it on other people. Everyone has to see this movie. It's just been protected in the National Film Archives or whatever, so for good reason. It's like protect this movie at all costs.
The first one.
Oh yeah.
Oh, actually, Kai, jumping back to something you mentioned, it's crazy because nowadays we're actually on a tipping point of reaching that state. So when you talk about traveling back in time to see if you would be good friends with your dad at that age, nowadays I hear people talking about how AI is progressing to a point where it can scrape the internet for all the recordings of you, such as this podcast, and in the future rebuild an artificial version of you so that your kids and your grandkids could essentially hang out and interact with a recreated version of you.
But we're all being we're all thinking of this so positively, but it's like, no, my parents are I wouldn't want to hang out with them. They're mean to me now. They tell me to go to bed, and they're still mean to. They were mean to me when they were kids, man. We would not have been friends. No, I love it. That's so funny. No, but that's really interesting.
If they were able to do that eventually, you could also fine tune what the source material is that the AI was using and see how that nuance changes the personality that it creates.
Yeah, that is
like
wild.
A Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's very Black Mirror. Very interesting to think about. I mean, it's cool to think you'd be immortalized, but then you're like, is it conscious? That's the weirdest thought, right? Because you're like,
I'm
it
surprised
could
at how much
embody me. It could
people
be a
get
perfect
confused by
replica,
that.
but does it feel? Does it want? Does it dream? It's creepy. I'm thinking of Blade Runner. I want to watch Blade Runner. Now I'm on this sci-fi kick right now. So anyway, I'm high as a kite right now. I love this movie. This was so much fun to talk about. Thank you so
Watch
much for
Ex
watching it.
Machina then, Ty.
Oh, dude, I've seen Ex Machina. Love that
No,
movie.
I know.
Oh.
I'm just saying, watch it.
I just
Watch
rewatched
it.
it. So good.
Did you watch it again?
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. I just have to let's see.
Well, do you want to
hello, think McFly, think. Come
Oh, yeah.
on, dude. What are you looking at, butthead? Say hello to your mom for me, dude. Everything from this.
Yeah,
I love that quote. Say
And an
hello to your mom.
amazing scene is when they're in the diner and George McFly runs out and she goes, "Oh my gosh, he's a dream, an absolute dream."
absolute dream.
Love that line. Yeah, he's an
Yeah.
absolute dream. And then she turns to some nondescript person. He's an absolute dream. Amazing. So funny. And then
Well, I
yes,
love
that
how
whole
not only
scene.
do
No,
they have like these recurring themes where they happen in each movie, but you can also see like these subtle ways that they change. So like when he goes back into 1955 and he rips the top of that thing off to make a skateboard, and he skateboards around, everybody's really impressed. And when he goes to the future and he borrows the hoverboard and then he tries to give it back, instead of the kids being so impressed, the little girl's like, "Keep it. I got a pit bull now." And like when he's playing the video game, in the future,
Elijah Wood,
he's
his
like,
first appearance.
I'm a crack shot at this. And he does that, and they're like, "Oh, you have to use your hands? That's like a
It's a
baby's,
baby's toy.
But then he goes back in time and actually shoots the gun, and then they're like, "Oh wow, this is amazing. Here, let us give you this prize."
Very, very cool. I love it. Yes. And the bulletproof vest is a huge theme, that keeps reoccurring in these
The
movies.
recurring theme of the vest. Yeah, actually, I do have a little Easter egg of my own.
Let's hear it.
The whole recurring thing of like them showing that in Biff's hot tub room, and then he uses it in the next movie. The fact that it crosses between the movies is so much fun. And I have my own reveal.
Everybody, Ryan Ornstein is taking off his clothes for those of you listening.
And so this goes with my original
We don't
quote.
need roads.
That's
Oh my
amazing.
word, folks.
Yes.
He is wearing the Back to the Future shirt. Guys, he came best prepared on the podcast. I'm still dressed in my work clothes, and here Ryan is showing us all up on our podcast.
Got to pay the respect to Back to the Future. That is a classic of all time for me. And I pay
For
mad
sure.
respect to all the actors as well. Michael J.
Yes.
Fox, Christopher Lloyd, legends, absolute legends.
Absolutely. And let's be fair. Is there a more iconic role that either of them did? I mean, like, honestly, like, I love Christopher Lloyd. I love his appearances in other films, like Just Nobody was one I was thinking of recently. I love him. His voice acting is great. My kids love watching there's a PBS show. I'm trying to remember, Time something. I don't remember what was it? I can't even think, but he plays the villain. His voice is so iconic. I just love it. He's got a great voice.
Well, I also love just how he emotes. He has so much like variation in his facial.
He's a physical actor, right? Yeah.
Amazing.
His mannerisms, his ridiculous hair. It's like so thin, and
I still have hair in the future.
There's that thing when they went to the future and he's like, "Sorry, I had to use a disguise because I went through this whole thing to like shave 40 years
That's
off."
right.
My
I love when he
blood,
peels off
changed
the
my-
skin and he looks exactly the same.
What do you think? Yeah. Oh, hilarious.
What do you think?
He looked great.
Somehow it actually translated to reality because now 40 years later he still looks pretty much the same.
He
He's
does.
amazing.
He looks exactly the same.
He's one of those guys that looked old always. Yeah, he never didn't look old. Yeah. So
It's the white hair that ages him.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like a Steve Martin. It's amazing. But yeah, I'm just so grateful this movie exists. And my goodness, Marty, I always wear a suit to the office. And then lastly, the last quote I'll say is, dude, that laugh, come on. Like his greased hair.
That was such a sad moment. His mom is sitting there drinking alcohol, staring at it, and she's just like,
Your
"The man
uncle
that I
didn't
spend the
make
rest
parole
of my
again."
life with." She's just dying.
And then he's like, "Yeah, eat up, kids. Your Uncle Joey didn't make parole again." She throws the cake down on the table.
Yep.
Amazing, dude. Just confirming for y'all, it was in fact Billy Zane who plays his character is called Match. Casey Sizemasco plays a character called 3D, and you can guess which which two bullies they are based on the things they either had in their mouth and or on their glasses. Yeah, for glasses. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. My goodness. Yeah, folks, watch this movie. All right. Would you recommend Back to the Future? We already said it. You got to watch it. It's a timeless classic.
Yeah.
Please watch this movie if you haven't seen it. And go back and rewatch it if you haven't, because that scene where he dials up the tone, that had my kids hooked. You're like, what's going to happen? All the dials are freaking, this one goes to 11. It made me think of that. Dude. It's just like,
and then
he's like,
he tops it off by plugging his guitar and then turning his guitar's volume all the way to the max.
And even in visually storytelling, I love the pick he has flashing light into the camera. I love that stuff, dude. Yeah. I try to do it in my own home videos, dude. And then one single strum of the guitar and he goes launching back. I just love it. Like just his introduction.
Whoa.
Whoa. Rock and roll. Yeah. I love it. Are you telling me all your clocks are set back in time? I'm gonna be late for school. It's amazing. Gosh, this whole movie, dude.
You best not use the amp. And he's like, no, keep that in mind.
Yeah. It's like there's a slight over calibration thing. Yeah, don't use the amp. Yeah. See, I love that the idea that maybe Doc is like helping Marty's like, I want a cool sound system. And he like built them this giant setup. I'm assuming it was for him, right? Like, anyway, it's very interesting to think about.
Experimentation, because he's maybe experimenting with sound waves. But that leads me to another Easter egg. That was something that I never noticed originally, and I only re-noticed this time because I had found it on the web. But at the very start, when they're scanning through all those clocks, there is not a clock, but a photograph of a clock where there's a guy hanging from the minute hand, just like Doc Brown hangs from the minute hand.
It's referencing Buster Keaton, I believe. Yes.
I think so,
yes. The old silent film where he did this amazing stunt. And yes, I love that that is foreshadowing the end where he literally is hanging from the clock tower. Amazing. Just so good.
Yeah.
So wonderful. Lastly, Christopher Lloyd is 6 feet 1 inch and Michael J. Fox is like 5'4". So every scene, Doc was always hunched over. So like, which is so funny because it just adds to his manic, personality. Yeah. But he's always hunched over so they could kind of seem like more on a level playing field, at least height wise, which I just love. I don't know. I love hearing stuff like that. So anyway,
it's just like the work they do in Mission Impossible.
Exactly. Everyone around Tom Cruise, they gotta be on their knees. So Tom Cruise,
right.
And Tom Cruise
from the floor, like, oh, look how big he is.
Everyone on their knees and Tom Cruise on his tippy toes. And then they have to use some camera trickery and a little bit of CGI, and they can get the appearance that Tom Cruise is a little bit taller than he is. It's amazing. Just all those three things factor in.
All those things to make him look like he's 5'8".
And all the camera trickery at least gets. The camera adds a couple pounds. Camera adds 1 or 2 inches.
There was one shot in Maverick where you could see somebody taller than him, and I think it was either Ty or Cameron leaned over and said, "He's like, I think whoever put that shot in got fired."
He's fired. Yes. Tom Cruise watched the cut and he's like, "I want that man removed.
I want that man removed."
Or they just break his legs and then he'll never be taller than Tom Cruise ever again. That's punishment.
To be fair to Tom Cruise, if you want to talk about any actor that somehow hasn't aged, it's him.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
He's immortal.
Yeah. Or aged beautifully. Yes.
He really is a Scientologist.
Yeah. He's maybe he is a lizard person.
All of
he really is.
But I'm saying everything he learned, he finally did it.
He finally did it, dude. He achieved nirvana. Okay, well, we want to respect your time, Ryan. You're welcome to stay on. But first, before you go, we have to know movies that you've seen lately and movies that you're looking forward to seeing, Ryan.
Okay. So I recently finally got around to seeing Everything Everywhere All at Once. And that one was entertaining. I have to say, when I watched
Hot dog fingers.
I think I was not a fan of that, but I understood from the writer's perspective why that was relevant. I would have to say I was wondering going into that movie how they were going to portray Everything Everywhere All at Once, and they did about as good of a job as I could expect, because that kind of a thing is difficult. The only other time I've seen something like that where I really thought they did it well was just for a brief moment during one of the sequels to Men in Black, where they met the fifth dimensional being and they were standing at the empty stadium, and he said he was watching the game because in a different dimension or different, timeline or whatever, there was a game going on. Coming up, gosh, I'm looking forward to seeing Wolverine and Deadpool get together.
Oh yeah, dude. Come on, who isn't excited for that?
Yeah,
Freaking Hugh Jackman,
Hugh
Ryan
Jackman,
Reynolds.
man, big fan. So yeah, actually, speaking of Hugh Jackman, another great movie that I rewatched recently because I watched it with my kids, um, is
Prisoners.
Prisoners.
The Greatest Showman. Man. Classic,
Greatest Showman. Yeah.
recent movie, but definitely fantastic. Everything in that movie is 100% awesome.
Love to hear it. Cameron, you start us off. Movies that you've seen lately, movies that you're looking forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. So I watched Memories of a Murder again after I was inspired after watching The Wailing.
Memories.
And
That's the Bong Joon-ho one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. I just love the characters in it so much. And then I watched like a bunch of videos talking about like the cinematography and just like the colors. It's a masterpiece. And then I rewatched Ex Machina and Annihilation
I did
showing
too. I was following
um,
your letterbox and then I was rewatching everything
Ex
you were
Machina is
watching.
good. Is same as Annihilation. Which do you like better? I think I like Ex Machina.
Annihilation.
Oh, you liked Annihilation?
it's so hard.
Yeah.
I think
I definitely
so
liked Annihilation. It was
both
good,
of them are
but I
9
think
out
I
of
liked
10
it.
for me.
Yeah.
Annihilation, I think like bigger scale is way cooler and like whoa and like so much more fun to theorize. And I think it's Alex Garland because it's Alex Garland's second film because Ex Machina is his
But they're
first
both
film.
Oscar Isaac, which is so good.
Yeah. And so like Annihilation is I think more fun to theorize and talk about afterwards versus I think Ex Machina does like a tad bit better suspense, but at the same time
Yeah.
Annihilation has in my opinion the most unsettling scene in cinema.
I feel bad because, and let me know if this is apt. I just feel like I compare Annihilation too much to The Arrival for some reason. I know they're completely different, but for some reason I'd rather
Just
watch
because
The
they're both
Arrival.
alien
Yeah,
and
Maybe
women.
that's it.
It's
I don't
alien
know.
and women, and Ty's like, I've seen this before.
It's the same actress, right? Natalie Portman, Amy. Oh, they're two different people. Oh, sorry. I thought it was the same broad playing
No,
the same
yeah,
part.
I don't. I mean, I
Yeah.
somewhat get it because
Yeah.
like in Arrival, there's like some mental stuff going on as well,
Yeah.
and she's kind of
Yes.
losing her like sanity.
Yes. The whole
They
thing.
So
both
I
feel
could see
like
that.
an A24 film, I guess.
Yeah, but
Were
yeah,
they?
so rewatching
Are they
both
both A24 or not? No,
No, not
okay.
Arrival.
Well, of course not Arrival. It's freaking Danny Villeneuve's intricacies of his mind. This is the same guy that directed
did-
Enemy, for Pete's sake.
Yeah,
They
and
don't
Enemy
even know
was an
what's going on with that
A24
guy's mind.
film.
Enemy was to there
Yeah.
you go. There you go. Of course it was, dude. You've seen that ending?
Also,
What am I looking at? Giant spider?
Speaking, and rewatching Annihilation and Ex Machina, it gets better every single time. It was my third viewing for both.
I do want to
and
go rewatch it now. Yeah.
it blows my mind that Alex Garland's directing debut was Ex Machina. I'm like, how did you get this cast for this movie? I'm like,
whoa, slow down, Cameron. Think about when it came out. These were not big movie stars at the time.
True.
They blew up
But, okay,
immediately after this movie.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Because they
I
got
guess Oscar
franchises.
Isaac
They literally
was.
both got in Star Wars. And after
Yeah.
that, Don Gleason.
This was actually what helped propel their careers and got
That's
them
crazy.
on the market.
Still though, I mean, star-studded cast for your like debut. I'm just like, it's insane. And then I watched Little Women because Drew's fiance wanted to watch it. I was actually surprised. This is back-to-back times that
Is this Saoirse Ronan's version
No,
with Timothy
Greta
Chalamet, or is this
Gerwig. Greta Gerwig.
I think
yeah. So it is
helped.
Timothy
Saoirse Ronan,
Chalamet and Saoirse
I think it
Ronan.
helped that Emma Watson was in this movie.
Yeah,
for
holy
Cameron.
fudge, bro. I forget how attractive she is, bro. I was swooning the entire time. But this is back-to-back times I've been surprised by Greta Gerwig. Like I think she's really good at creating fun characters.
Have you
I
watched
think
Lady Bird yet, Kim?
Uh-uh.
Oh, I highly recommend it because I actually enjoyed Lady Bird, and I haven't seen Barbie, and I haven't seen Little Women yet.
I
But
think
Lady
if
Bird
you like
was
Lady
one of her
Bird
first-
and if
It's good.
it's on her directing style is really interesting. Like she's really like not even close to, but like very similar to the Coen brothers, where I like everyone has kind of their niche of personality, which I think is fun because a lot of times like I feel like people don't direct characters and they're like really flat. She kind of gives like a lot of life to characters, which I was really impressed
All
with.
I
And
remember from Lady Bird, well, I remember liking it, but I was going to say there's a few funny things I remember from it. But I remember that one kid from It's Gonna Bother Me. What's that depressing movie? Manchester by the Sea. It's got the son. He's the
I
boyfriend
love
of
him,
Saoirse
dude.
Ronan.
He's so good.
Well, I
Everything
know you
see
do,
him
but
in,
I was just
love
going to
him
say
in.
that he's in Lady Bird. He's the boyfriend. So definitely watch it.
He's so good in 3 Billboards and in Manchester.
Well,
Oh, and
and
Two
the other
Billboards, that
one,
was it.
Cameron, about
Yeah,
the
he's also excellent in Waves.
waves.
Yeah.
Good
I haven't
watch.
seen Waves. I'll have to check that
Good.
out.
He must just be like a depressed kid with a messed up family because he's way too good at playing that role.
He
'Cause
looks too
every
much like
he's just typecasted as that. I'm like, bro,
yeah.
but you do way too well. That's why everyone keeps doing it. But then, so, I watched Iron Claw yesterday.
No spoilers.
And, yeah, I won't
Iron
spoil because
Claw.
we're gonna be
What's
reviewing it on the pod this month. But
oh, okay.
I don't like
Iron Claw.
WWE, and so I was not really looking forward to watching it. I don't know. I heard it was amazing performances all around, but I also heard it was like devastating. And so I like went into it kind of expecting it
Oh,
to be
this is the Zac Efron movie.
and
Yeah,
I
I
went in,
forget what it's called. Yeah, Iron Claw.
yeah,
Okay.
and then so I went in kind of expecting
Yeah.
like just like a good performance from Zach, and then just like a little bit of sad. Oh my gosh.
This
I
isn't like Foxcatcher where it's like unintentionally funny because I laughed at that movie and I wasn't supposed
so
to.
I
I'm a bad
I
person.
I like wept like 2 or 3 times in this movie. And
Stop, dude. What?
Cameron
if
Cameron,
finally
you
felt
if
never
you're
something.
said the
listening to this
word wept
podcast, no,
before.
I
Stop, yeah.
almost never cry. I didn't cry in Schindler's List, but
Well,
But
that's
you
just because
did. But
Cameron
you
doesn't care
did.
about the death of the Jews, man. Yeah,
You did cry
that's
when
why.
Spider-Man died in Endgame.
Oh
No,
my
the
God.
one before Endgame, whatever it's called.
Infinity War. I don't feel good. It's Tony Stark. Cameron crying in the theater, crying in the Pokemon movie, dude.
Anyway, this movie,
Some
the
things just get you, man.
Yeah, man.
the
Just hits ya.
craziest thing. So like there's so much I want to talk about, but I'll save it for obvious when we talk about
Yeah,
it on the
save it.
pod. But
Save it.
the
Don't talk
craziest
about the precious stuff.
the craziest thing to me, and don't look it up until after you guys watch it, but the true story is even more depressing and devastating than what was in the movie. And the director didn't include so many things. It reminds me a lot, Jordan, of
It's not-
Hacksaw Ridge,
It's not
Yeah.
funny.
because
People
they
wouldn't
talk
believe
about
it.
the director talked about in the creating of this film. He said if I included everything, people would think it's made up. He's like,
Yeah.
and also he's like, I don't think if I included everything that people would be able to like sit through a film of all that. It would be too punishing.
I see. That's literally what I was gonna say. Where does that kid? That's just like one more lemon to rub in his freaking open wounds, man. It's like your life is so depressing. General audiences couldn't even like pity watch it.
Yeah, exactly. It's insane. But
And
okay,
they're like, this is a world where we watched Manchester by the Sea, by the way. And
because I don't want to rave
Schindler's
about it too
List.
much because I don't want to overhype it for you guys because I went in with low expectations because I'm like a WWE
You
movie.
already have.
But I think it's what's his name? Zac Efron. I mean, not that it's a crazy claim, but I think it's Zac Efron's best performance ever.
Best performance, yeah.
But
I was
mean,
curious about
it's
that.
better than
Yeah, if he
17 again,
does.
and I love 17 again.
I do love 17 again.
Yeah, what is his
on
best
that note,
Baywatch?
though,
I don't know. What's his best performance? Oh,
I've been
Neighbors.
thinking
Neighbors was
recently
pretty
a lot.
funny.
If
Neighbors made me
you want to
laugh.
make a movie and you want to take a character that's been through a lot of tough stuff, it's actually really hard to fit so much of that character's story prior to your progression that you want to put forward. Because if you think about like all the terrible things that can happen to someone over their life and just all the repetitive things that stack up, it's tough to have that portrayed in film in a way that really internalizes people. Like they can understand, yeah, this person has a hard life, but you don't actually really get to like get them to feel the way that
Yeah.
character feels within the short amount of time that you have to present that character to them and then do something else in the movie. You'd actually have to take like half the movie to do that just to get them in that same position as that character.
Yeah, it's just really well done. And Jordan's got your boy from the model boy from Triangle of Sadness.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. I
Mhm.
like
He's
Triangle.
cool.
He was almost like unrecognizable. I was like, what? Because he's got this horrendous haircut. And
That's
he's like-
right. Their
I was like,
haircuts in the trailer.
Yeah,
made me
their
laugh,
haircuts,
yeah.
they all look
it's
Everyone's
so
hair,
bad.
yeah.
It's so
Oh,
funny.
man.
Yeah.
Oh,
A lot of parts reminded me of Dad. So yeah, of the dad in it is our dad, but
he's-
worse.
He's the guy from Wrath of Man.
Yeah,
good.
I always think of him from Mindhunter. He's one of
Mindhunter,
the
yeah.
cops from Mindhunter, yeah. But
crazy,
so yeah,
crazy.
that was super fun. And then next week, I'm actually
Ironclaw.
looking forward to going to the theater and watching what I was gonna potentially watch this week, but $5 Tuesday is crazy to find a ticket in like Utah County, just because like every college student and their mother's trying to spend $5 and go to the movies.
Unless you want to watch the front row seat, yeah.
Yeah. So like Iron Claw, we had to drive 30 minutes to the only theater that had 3 seats next to each other. So next week I'm either gonna watch Godzilla -1.
I do want to see that, by the way.
the boy-
That's on
the
my
boy-
watch list. Yes.
The Boys in the Boat or Anyone But You. Boys in the Boat, it's like an American like rowing. It's like these guys from Washington.
The Winklevoss twins from the Social Network.
Yeah, pretty much. When I first saw it, I'm
Their
like,
story?
oh, the Winklevoss. But
Screwing us out of our
it's essentially,
company.
I've heard a lot that it's similar to like Miracle on Ice kind of vibe, or like Remember the Titans, like super patriotic, like just kind of sports, like movie. So
Like Iron Claw,
Yeah.
just a
yeah,
sport movie.
and then
Yeah.
and then also Anyone But You got trashed by critics, which I mean, I looked at the trailer, I'm like, looks like garbage. Um, um, it's like 53% Rotten Tomatoes, but then it's like 85% audience, and I'm like, And it's kind of a rom com. It's based off like the Much Ado About Nothing plot from like Shakespeare or whatever. So I'm kind of excited, and plus it's got Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell from Top Gun. I'm like, two attractive people. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I saw that poster. I'm like, Cameron's gonna see that
Yeah, I love Sydney Sweeney.
from Euphoria. Yeah.
He-
All right,
All right,
Ty.
Jordan. Oh,
Oh,
me.
me.
Oh, you. That was weird. Jinx,
Whatever.
whatever.
Yeah. Do
Oh,
you
you
want
go
to?
ahead.
Okay, I'll do it really quick. Just watched a ton of masterpieces, Prisoners, Manchester by the Sea, Triangle Sadness, Animal
Sorry.
Kingdom.
Triangle Sadness is actually isn't as sad of a movie as Manchester by the Sea is, but for some reason, reading the titles Triangle of Sadness and Manchester by the Sea just made me feel this trifecta effect where I'm like, that it just sounds like such a depressing lineup.
Yeah.
But it's not like Triangle of
Check out
Sadness is
these
actually
movies.
quite, yeah, it's
It's
not as
funny.
heavy. Yeah, it's
Uh,
more of a
Funny is
comedy.
a strong word. Funny is a strong word.
It's
And
ironically funny.
It's
Yeah.
very
It's a
dark.
It's a dark comedy. Yeah.
and
Very dark
Yeah,
though.
dark
I'm-
comedy.
It's Coen Brothers funny.
I'm
Yeah,
halfway
yeah.
through two films, and they're both foreign films, so it's just taking me longer to get through because like you have to pay attention to every second of it.
There's pesky
But Jordan's used
subtitles.
to just listening to the dialogue and be like, oh yeah, that's a 3 out of 10 movie.
No, I only listen to movies that I haven't seen for the first time. But Society of the Snow was on the top on Netflix and Letterboxd, and so I was like, I'll check it out. It's a story about where did they from Uruguay? And it's about that team that crash landed their plane in the snow, and
They
they
ate each other.
yep,
It's
yeah,
the rugby team, right?
yep, the rugby team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
like
then they're like, and then they found out
I
they
don't-
never had to eat each other. They
no.
found a bunch of food.
Spoiler.
Right?
No,
kidding.
I just
That's
like
great. You thought
I
that,
don't
yeah.
I don't think I've cried more in a movie than this movie. It's just like every couple minutes, it's like
They're eating a new friend, a new
yeah,
body part of a loved one.
basically,
No,
it's
no.
so depressing. And the second movie I started was it's got our boy from Memories of Murder, or no, I always not Memoir of a
Memoir
Murder,
of a
no,
Murderer.
Memories of Murder.
Memories
Well,
of
oh, actually,
Murder.
the guy from Memoir is in it as well. The guy that takes out the cigarette and lights it, and there's the guy
Oh,
right
the
behind
cop?
him. Yeah,
Yeah, the cop. I love that
yeah.
detective.
He's they both play as attorneys, and it's really good. That's the name of the movie, The Attorney. So I'm halfway through that,
Attorney.
and they're both great. So that's what I'm looking forward to is finishing those.
Nice. Well, yeah, it was time to catch up. So after watching The Wailing, see, you guys kept pushing Bedeviled and kept pushing Memoir of a Murderer, and like all you had to do was just make us review a Korean film, and I was like, my goodness, there's this wholly untapped potential like of movies, a whole bank vault full of movies that are so well done, it would boggle your mind, like American audiences. So I went and watched Memoir of a Murderer, and I absolutely loved it. That was so good. I was like, beautiful, and it's so great too. So just a
Korean
spoiler.
Memento.
Well, I mean, this is the plot synopsis, but it's basically a man that develops dementia, and this man has a past. He is a serial killer, and he's starting to lose grip with reality and starting to lose. There's another serial killer in his area, or is it just him committing these murders and he doesn't remember doing it? So good, so good,
So
and
good.
he's got to protect his daughter.
It's-
And it reminded me,
Did
my
you say
in-laws kept
Memento? Did you say Memento?
Oh yeah. Well, so
Yeah.
Cameron mentioned Memento, and I was like, that's a perfect, because I did think of it when I watched it. It made me
Bro,
think
him
of
drinking out of that bottle is the worst thing in the entire movie.
amazing,
I'm
great
like,
scene. Yeah. It's my in-laws kept trying to get me to watch Anthony Hopkins in the movie The Father, where he's like losing his mind and everything from Alzheimer's.
Is
And
it
I'm
Jake
like,
Gyllenhaal in that movie?
I don't know if he is. I just know it's Anthony Hopkins. I don't know anything else about it. But and he has dementia, and it got Best Picture or Best Acting from Anthony Hopkins that year. 2019 or 2020, 2021. I don't remember. It's pretty recent. But anyway, they kept trying to get me to watch it, and I'm like, I do want to watch it, But I think the movie would be more enjoyable if Anthony Hopkins was reprising his role as Hannibal Lecter and he was developing Alzheimer's. And I was like, oh, but that's Memoir of a Murderer. They have that movie already. So very grateful that movie exists. But come on, folks, like that's so great. It's like, and what's so clever about the movie though too is like they get you invested, even though they did it in almost a way that made me feel like Dexter, because they get you to care enough about this guy who's a sociopath, but he's odd and quirky. And I wonder how much that is amplified by the fact that like, because cultural barriers, like I feel like because I don't speak Korean, it's very hard for me to like understand even the little nuances that he's probably doing in this performance, because it's amazing. Because I was blown away by it, because like it reminded me almost of Taxi Driver too, where he's just like, oh,
Yes.
I understand humor, it's just the timing that's the issue. And so everyone's crying and he's like dying laughing in a movie. He doesn't know why, because he doesn't get humor like everyone else. And then his daughter laughs at something, and then like a minute and a half later he laughs at it, because it's the timing's off.
I
Love
love
it.
when he drops the chick off just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry. He's like, I don't remember who you are. She's like, and then he just, the next scene, he's leaving her on the side of the road. Hilarious. Yeah, it's great. It reminds me of Red Eye a little bit. There's just a little bit of that to it. There's like, I'm trying to think
the
of other
crazy
movies.
kid you're talking about. Yeah, he's totally
Yeah,
like
his
still in
whole
my vein.
involvement. Yes,
Yeah.
I saw The Devil a little bit, but a lot of
Or-
those movies. But it still feels so fresh, because even if I want to call them cliches, it's like they subvert your expectations enough times where, like the unreliable narrator of it all, but also making you feel disoriented, which was really clever being a movie about Alzheimer's. You're like, oh, like you're torn and you're learning this information with him. And even though he may have already realized this, you feel like you're experiencing it for the first time with him. And it's like this dramatic reveal, and it's just heartbreaking, right? Well done. Well done. And that's how you did. They made a serial killer that has Asperger's, like literally almost a
Asperger's.
psychopath.
No, it's Alzheimer's, you mean?
With Alzheimer's. What did I say? Asperger's. Well, he has
Asperger's.
Asperger's, but he also has like, he doesn't connect with people on a level,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So there's other things, but yes, that also would be a personality quirk. I would agree, Cameron, that he is also a murderer. You can't help killing people. It's also a disorder, we'll call it. It's like a
That was
resume.
like the
I have
one of the
Asperger's
guys
and
that
I am a
got
serial
Asperger's.
killer. But yeah, what was that again? You said
He's changed.
Asperger's? No, the part about serial killing. They made him relatable enough that you almost cheer for him, right? Because in the end, you're voting or you're cheering for the innocent daughter, right? You're hoping that she's okay. So Byun-sun, oh, it's so good. So great movie. I'm glad you guys recommended it, and I finally got around to watching it.
Yeah, we
And then I
only
watched-
told you to watch it every single week for like
Which
10
is so funny,
months
because no
straight.
one had to tell me. I went ahead and watched Gran Turismo, which I know Cameron recommended, and I watched it, and it was good. I was
Yeah.
actually blown away how I felt the stakes of what he was doing. I was like, this video game better freaking win a trophy
Dude,
or
yeah.
place on podium. Like,
Dude, when
Loved
like when the fact that, and apparently the race car driver, he insisted that they include that in the movie, like the death.
oh, I know, which is
Like,
very,
you have
yeah.
to, like,
That
that's really important to
that's where it
include
got me, because I remember thinking like, oh, this doesn't paint. And again, not
that. 'Cause I'm
even
like,
saying
oh,
like it
they're
paints a
racing. How
bad
serious
light.
is
Yeah.
it? And I'm like, oh my gosh, he murdered somebody accidentally. Like, with a car.
Yes. He got into a wreck, and his wreck tragically, and it's so crazy too, because again, you look at it and you're like, it's completely out of his control. They call it a freak accident, because again, a car coming over a rise and accelerating to the fact, and the way it's built, it literally created lift, and the car just flips out of control. Like there was nothing he could have done. It wasn't like he was being
Well,
too
and
reckless.
the person that's at most risk is him. He's flying
He's
like
flying through the air
in a
with
car
a
going
car
200
that
miles
is
an
lifting
hour,
off of the ground.
flipping.
Yes, it is crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
How do we convince people to watch this? Because everybody I tell, even me, I didn't want to watch it at all. But Cameron gave it such a high rating. I'm like, you got to be high to give it
So
this high rating.
for me, it's so easy to be like, this is a Rocky on a racetrack. Like if you like Rocky, the underdog story, it's a perfect
Yeah,
underdog
but then they'll
story.
watch
Go
the
watch it.
trailer. Like I watched the trailer and I'm like, this looks so dumb. I don't want to see it.
No, that's
I'll be honest, I watched the trailer and I feel like I already knew the movie. And I'll be honest, the movie does have
It-
all the things. Like I did
Yeah.
everything I predicted.
See,
It's
but
very
that's why
predictable.
I'm saying
but it's
Ford versus
still a
Ferrari, 'cause
feel-good-
You watch the trailer
yeah.
for Ford versus Ferrari, and you're like, I already watched the movie, but you're like, no, but the performances and like the characters
Yeah.
and like
Well-
because you care for them, it makes it like worth the watch.
What sold me was the director, Neil Blomkamp.
Yeah, Neil
I'm
Blomkamp,
like, what?
to
Not
me, I
making
was-
a sci-fi?
I will agree, Jordan, and the fact that I was curious to see how Neil Blomkamp. I'll be honest, there's definitely things about the movie that bother me. Like it does feel like a solid B plus movie, because like I love it. It's a feel good. I
yeah,
feel like it
but-
could be more enduring than a lot of movies I've seen lately. But I still remember thinking like, Dude, District 9 is
Come
still
on.
your best
The
film.
real driver as his stunt double. Does it get better than that, Ty?
I did. Yeah, it made me laugh too. The visual with the car assembling. I'm like, there's no Blomkamp. He loves that. It's like
Yeah.
the car, like I don't doing the Transformer thing, right? It's like he's
I'm
playing video
Jeffy.
games, but then he like envisions himself in the vehicle. Yeah. Which okay, so the whole premise about this, I like the idea that nerds are getting their spotlight, their moment in the limelight. It's like, hey, I'm a
Yeah,
nerd
Dad,
that played
you
video
were
games my
wrong
whole life.
about
Yeah,
Grant.
Dad, someday I'll be a famous race car driver and they'll make a Netflix movie about me.
Actually, that reminds me of one thing I wanted to say is a shout out to the team that made Ready Player One. Absolutely loved all the Easter eggs in that. Whether it was
There you
just the
go.
fact that he
That was
drove
fun.
the DeLorean and the fact that they named the Zemeckis cube that changed time.
That's
Oh,
right.
that's right. I forgot about that.
That's right. Yeah, it's a big Steven Spielberg nostalgia trip for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, King Kong, Tyrannosaurus Rex's
What else did you
races.
watch,
Made me
Ty?
think of Spy Kids 3D. What else? I think those were the two biggest watches because other than that, it was I've been watching Jack Reacher season 2, which is so good. If you haven't watched season 1, highly recommend it.
You mean Reacher?
Yeah, well, yeah, Mr. Reacher. Oh, just Reacher. That's like his whole thing.
It's called Reacher.
I think it is just called Reacher. Yeah.
It is.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Reacher.
Hey Ty, you know, a
I'm
really
watching
good kids
Reacher.
movie I've been watching with my wife. We don't have kids yet, but I do recommend it. It's a Disney show called Gravity Falls. Have you ever watched it?
Oh yeah, no, I've heard of it. Yeah, in fact, I've seen several episodes. It's
Oh,
like
okay.
what does it remind me of? It reminds me of like
Over the garden wall.
I
We
have
have
no
not
idea
watched
what
that
that
yet.
is.
Oh.
No, know what that is. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what it reminds me of. It's like a Monster Hunter thing where like all the
I mean, sort
yeah.
of like it's kind of like a lighthearted version of Rick and Morty, maybe.
lighthearted.
Lighthearted.
Oh, Rick and Morty.
Slightly
Yeah, that's
lighter-hearted.
it's more like it's like
SpongeBob. I don't know.
SpongeBob.
Too far
just
that
a-
way. Okay, I don't know.
no, I mean, what am I trying to think of?
Because they
Like, I
even
was
had
gonna
an
say,
episode that they brought on. Justin Roiland did one of the a voice of a time traveler, and they did the whole time.
Okay,
travel
yeah, but
Oh,
he's
okay.
also been in like Adventure Time, and I want to
That's true. Oh, Adventure Time's maybe a.
Yeah.
I've watched some Adventure Time. I don't know if that's a good comparison either.
I mean, it's just like
Watch what you say about
it's like
Adventure
it
Time,
almost feels
brother.
like a Boy Scout version. Like I mean, like I always think of Boy Scouts. Like Gravity Falls, it's like this mysterious land where mystical creatures come to vampires, zombies, all the things. It's like a Monster Hunter thing. What's the closest thing we have to that now? I've read a book called Monster Hunters. What's the Helsing? Maybe I don't know. It's probably the closest thing I could have to it, right?
But yeah,
I
sorry,
think it's
I
like
went on a
charming
side
and it's a kid.
tangent.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry, Ty.
How would you write a comment, folks, if you're listening to this, how would you describe Gravity Falls to your friends? Anyway. Yeah, other than that, no more digital heroin. I'm done with all the reality TV shows. We tried to watch Survivor. We tried to watch well, I finished another season of Alone. I freaking love that show, dude.
Alone. That is a
Alone
great.
is I highly recommend if you guys haven't watched Alone, go on Amazon Prime. They have like 6 seasons up there. So freaking good.
Ty, if you want to watch,
So good.
there's actually one good season of Survivor because I've watched quite a few, and I was like,
There's 20
most,
plus seasons of Survivor,
first-
I think
Jordan.
there's
What's the
32.
Okay,
No,
there's 32.
34
What
maybe.
Yeah,
Huh?
what is the
About
best season,
Survival is
Jordan?
crazy though. I watched the first season when it first came out, and then I watched none of it forever, and then I watched like season 25, and it was like all the people that were like such complete fans of the show, and there was a stark contrast because in the first season they were like trying to keep the person who was most suitable as the survivor on the island, and they actually played the game of like, oh, I need to make friends and this and that, and at the end they actually respected like, oh, the people that we voted off need to vote for who wins now. And so if you stabbed them in the back, then they get their vengeance. But 25 seasons later, the reverse happens. They're like, no, we want to reward the person who did the best job of stabbing us in the back, because that's what we all came here for, is to demonstrate and find out who is the best person to manipulate the others. And they decide to reward that person. That's where I saw this crazy comparison between the early and later seasons.
Interesting.
Jeez.
What's your
Yeah,
favorite season, Jordan? What is the best season?
So the best season is season 18.
How much have you lost? Yeah, okay. How much have you watched? Have you watched 18 seasons of the show?
No. I probably watched 3 or 4.
Okay.
One of them I just after.
So it makes you an expert on.
No, not at all. No. I'm just saying because the other seasons, like I felt sick to my stomach because they're just like so nasty to each other.
Oh yeah.
And-
Don't even get me started. Yeah, I watched like an episode. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this show is perfect. The people that watch this show deserve each other.
No, but okay, this season they go to Brazil, and the reason it's my favorite is because there's an actual good character that like people love and like are hoping makes it to the end. And then there's this one character that's like hilarious. Like he is the best character ever. Coach, man, he is like Ty, he can't help it but lie. Like he just no, obviously a lot of them lie, but this guy like fabricates stories about himself. Like he talks about how he's a samurai, and he's insane. Anyways,
Yeah, there's a mental condition for that.
That's right. Jordan's like, I really like this season. You got to watch it, man. That's crazy.
he needs
Flying
help.
off the handle. I love it. A serial liar. I love it. That's hilarious.
Yep.
Well, I was trying to think. I guess I did get a little excited at just the prospect of having a prequel Furiosa. Jordan's wearing the witch with Anya Taylor-Joy. I'm excited to see George Miller make a nice prequel, which, to be honest, it's like a little less steampunk, a little less weird. It could be interesting, you know, like a post-apocalyptic, but like bridging between like what we know as our world, bridging into the. But then again, I'm like, over the span of a few years, they probably should lean more into the Mad Max, because you're like, oh my gosh, I guess things could divulge or what do you call it? Devolve quickly, like rapidly descend into madness, and everyone's just fighting over water and supplies. And
I think it's gonna be
just
more
mayhem.
like the second Mad Max fighting over fuel, because at least one of the places was fuel. I don't know. It could be something else.
Yeah, right. But and then it's like, well, a prediction. There's a big character moment. Anya Taylor-Joy is going to lose her hand, you know, and become the Furiosa that we know. And then they're going to spray each other with food coloring, and it's going to be glorious. But I'm just excited. Anya Taylor-Joy, I think she's a great actress. I think she'll do a good job.
Yeah,
she's awesome. And then one other movie I was looking forward to. I guess I will just watch Bedeviled soon here, so I'm excited to see that.
Hi, brace yourself.
Oh yeah, yeah. I saw
just
the
that
Devil.
first hour. That first hour.
I would
it's rough.
never watch that ever again.
I will.
Because Cameron, I watched. I also watched the Blue something movie.
Perfect Blue.
Perfect
Yeah,
Blue.
Perfect Blue. I started Perfect Blue. I don't know if I finished the last few minutes because I was like, I don't know what's going on. And then I felt like I was going insane because I was like, oh, but she's insane.
Yes,
now I'm
dude,
insane.
it's the most mind-boggling shiz ever, bro.
It's another anime. Yeah, because I don't get anime. I just never have.
Ty, you gotta finish it and then just watch like 6 explainer videos, bro. That's what I did.
I'll be honest. Yeah, I'm not above. Yeah, I'm not above. I love learning about something, and if it makes me interested,
that was back, when I watched Enemy, I'm like, that was the dumbest movie I've ever watched and biggest waste of my time. And then after I finished,
you watch it, and you're like, I get it now. I finally get it.
Wow,
no, it's a masterpiece. It's so funny you guys say that, because I remember, Cameron, I know we got like in a debate, an argument about the Poison movie. What was it called? The It Comes at Night. I literally watched it again. My brothers-in-law were like, that was such a good movie, and I was like, do you guys really like that? Like, yeah, we loved it. And I was like, okay, yeah. And but honestly, like, I enjoyed it much more on rewatch, that's for sure. So it's interesting, because it's like some of these movies, I'm like,
I liked it better just hearing you guys explain it to me. So that was nice.
Oh yeah. Or like even Coherence. I showed Coherence to my brothers-in-law, and we just talked about it forever, and we still talk about it. Like every time they come over, I'm like, dude, think about it. Like they go over to the house, they leave. 2 characters were still there. They went back to a house. How perfect was that? They came back to the house that had the same 2 people in the home there. But again, I'm like, it's still in keeping with like multiverse. A lot of the people surrounding this singular event, like a lot of them would think the similar way that they do. And I'm like, it's so great.
Yeah.
But there's just little tweaks that would have affected their night, and it's like spaghetti.
I hope he makes like
Mom
a TV
spaghetti.
series. That was a crazy movie.
Dude, I know, right? They could like that concept was so brilliant, like so well written and conceived. I'm like, they need to do that, but yeah, and part of me is like, yeah, if it gets bigger, it would, yeah, but I would just like, yeah, more character and more exploration of those stories and timelines, right? But part of me is like, yeah, they've done too much of the multiverse. I think people are kind of fed up with the multiverse now.
Yeah.
Thanks to Flash, thanks to Spider-Man No Way Home. Although like it was well done, but it's like they're not gonna Flashpoint or whatever, you know, or whatever it's called. Yeah, the whole story, the different timelines and everything. I think it kind of milks down your movie or waters down your movie to where the stakes aren't as high, right? Because it's like, oh, like you just go to a different timeline and reset, or find your character that you love so much, and he's fine in this universe and he's not fine in that one. I don't know. It can be done. I heard there's a Star Trek episode that did this. See, they were doing stuff like this long time ago. It makes me kind of want to watch Star Trek. Do you guys watch Star Trek?
Yeah,
I think I will. So I'm looking forward to watching some Star Trek, because they have an episode where they literally have 2 enterprises on top of each other, and like they're like trying to coexist. It's coherence. It's freaking awesome. But anyway, they
Mhm.
like have to like figure out how to solve this problem so they can separate and
Right.
not have a catastrophic end. Pretty cool. So
Yeah.
guys, this has been Future Hit Movie Gems. Leave us an email, futuremovies@gmail.com. Jordan, do you still check that email? Do we have a bunch of
Yeah.
unread emails? Oh, he checks it. Nobody's written in. Okay, just leave us a comment then. Tell us a movie that you'd like us to review and a movie that we've reviewed in the past that you'd like to talk more about. We love you guys. This has been Future Hit Movie Gems signing out. Peace.
Bye.
McFly! McFly!